of that, the speak up sessions, going to different lists, talking with people, looking through all the data and the notes, the main point that we pulled out was that girls were saying they had no voice and choice in what happened to them systemically, in terms of case planning, things like that, or individually, and they had no choice. So the Alliance realized that that was something that wasn't going to fly any longer. So, the Alliance as well needed to do a better job of including and partnering with and really asking youth and families to come to the table and have share the power, since they are the ones with the lived experience, to be the ones that are shaping the policy and advocacy agenda. That's what we really believe. So if you're asking yourself, okay, well, it's great, it's 2 years ago, what came out of your speak ups, what came out of the listening sessions that you did? In 2016, up here, it talks about Senate Bill 180. That came directly out of one of the speak ups. It came from one of the young women, Mitch Carley's story about being in foster placement and not having any idea of where she was going, what to expect, and how that should change, right? And how young people should be involved in the decisions that are being made. So Senate Bill 180 was passed into a public act, and you can see the different things that it did up here. Enabled children 12 years of age and older who were under the custody of DCF to sort of have a prominent voice in their permanency hearings and where they were going. It created a kind of like a Facebook About Me profile of foster care families for young people to look at and see, so they knew what to expect when they were going somewhere. Takes away some of that anxiety. There was a piece in there that solicited feedback, which I think is super important. If you are looking to improve foster parenting programs, you should probably ask the foster children who are part of them what they think, so you can recruit with best practice, train, and then actually keep and hold on to those foster families. And finally, required youth advisory councils at certain child care facilities, which I have heard successfully report back to the commissioner of DCF with some of their feedback and challenges that they are having. So that is an outcome of those speak ups that we did with young women about 2 years ago now. So following all of those speak ups and listening sessions, the Alliance decided on some next steps. And the first major, the heading there, is to ensure that our work is directed by youth, family, and community voices of those that are impacted and have lived experience, right? And that's why we're sitting in here today with the Justice Advisors. So we're going around the state, Abby and I, and really pushing and encouraging state agencies and organizations that work with youth, family, and communities, people who are in charge of policy, to consult with and engage. And if you can, bring young people and families onto those boards and tables that you sit at, so they are a part of the advocacy push and the policy change, because that is important. We're working on really holding ourselves to the same standards that we're asking other people to do. And now after speak ups, listening sessions, and all that data came out, and we heard that girls had no voice and no choice, we had written something called the Girls Report, and women sharing their ideas for changing Connecticut's juvenile justice system. The Girls Report was released back in September at an event that we had at the Capitol, which was great. We had the report, we had a national expert come and speak, Fran Sherman. She spoke about some of her research with young women. We had Wonder of a Woman show, which we'll look at today. It's a 7-minute, short, awesome movie that you'll see a familiar face in the room here today. She's in the movie. And we had a panel of young women and professionals in the juvenile justice world, all speaking together about best practices of how to work with youth, family, and communities, what's missing, giving advice and best practice for practitioners and those that work with young women to start using in their practice. So even though, and we'll go into this after we see Wonder of a Woman, we started this big push about amplifying youth, family, and community voice with just girls and young women. It has now sort of expanded into all youth, all young people, young adults, young leaders, and we'll talk about that after Wonder of a Woman. But what you see here in Wonder of a Woman, the movie was made by a young woman in Hartford. She thought of the ideas, she edited it, she did all of the filming. This was her. Fantastic job. So we're gonna watch it. Hopefully everybody can hear. tell me if it's not loud enough. We will watch that, talk about it, and then move on to the other portion of it.
A woman is like the most perfect girl. Beautiful, somebody who worked hard, somebody who is real caring, somebody that is nurturing,
strong, independent, carefree, anything they want.
Well, ideal woman to me when I was growing up was a woman who got their own house, who got their own kids, who got a job, who got a car. Like, who didn't need to rely on anybody but their own self.
You got it?
I don't know. I always wanted to be a veterinarian for some reason. I don't know why.
I wanted to be a dancer, an artist, a painter, a singer. I wanted to be a lot of stuff. I wanted to be a news conductor. I wanted to be a chef. I had a lot of goals.
Well, I wanted to be many things when I was younger. I wanted to be a doctor, a nurse, a cosmetologist. I wanted to be a lot. But then I had to narrow my dreams down to one. Growing up, my mom was the ideal woman to me. She knew how to take care of herself. Like, she had 8 kids. She was struggling, but she didn't ask nobody for help. And she didn't need it. She had her own job. That's the ideal woman to me.
When I was growing up, it was hard because I didn't have my mom or my dad. I only had my grandma. My grandma raised me until I was 14, 15, and my sister raised me up until I was 18.
Growing up, everything was pretty good. My family was pretty together. I think probably once I got older was when it kind of like everybody fell apart. Like, just felt like my family's not as close as they were when I was growing up. When I was younger, there was a lot of kids around me and stuff. Now everybody kind of like goes their own way. Everybody's separated. I have family that moved out of state, family that's passed away, so it's kind of like everybody's not as tight as we were before. You know, before I started fighting, a lot of people used, like on the bus, they would be like, oh, you're scared, all these people beat you up, like you won't fight because though you'll get beat up, blah, blah. And after my first fight, I felt like, try me now, you know? Like, now you see I can fight, now send all the girls, you can send this way, and see how lucky they get. Like, that was kind of like my whole thing when I was younger, and now I look back and it's kind of embarrassing. And I felt like, well, now you guys can't really bully me. Because before I was real, like, my mom wouldn't let me play in the dirt. God forbid I got dirty. Like, it was like that. So once I got my hands a little dirty and I got in the mix, I was like, oh yeah, you know, now I can hold myself down. I don't even have to keep calling my mom to come back me up.
So me and my other sister had to go to a group home called Safe House. They were so mean. They would throw food on the floor. Like, we would get in trouble for the littlest things. Like, if we didn't push our chair in, we would get sent to our room, like, for a whole 2 days. And when they, cause we couldn't go to the cafeteria, they would just serve us our food, but leave it on the floor and just push it.
Well, we stayed in the shelter, and I guess DCF had wanted to take us, but my mom had sent us away to our fathers. To me, it was horrible. I was always on punishment. I was always the only one getting abused at the time.
Was it physical?
Yeah.
Did teachers see anything?
Yeah, they didn't say anything. It made me feel alone, like I didn't have anyone to talk to about it.
What girls need to help them more in the system is somebody that actually wants to listen to them and somebody that's going to be there for them, because it's hard for us girls to give our trust to just anybody, and we have to have people that are willing to like bring us back in and work hard for us, and somebody that's going to stand in our corner. And the people in the government and the system, they actually need to step it up and learn that it's not about giving up, and if somebody's not cooperating to your standards, you have to keep trying. Like, people are hard, and and you really have to want to listen to what the girls are actually saying. You have to keep those same people that are good workers and really care about those kids around for longer periods of time. You can't just, kids get comfortable with the same people, so you can't just switch up on them. You have to be 100%. And I just feel like you can't start a program and end it because that's what could be working for them and you just don't know, so you just gotta keep going.
I had a lot of people like that, a lot of DCF workers like that, and they'll just write it all down but not do anything. Like they'll just write it down for nothing.
I feel like they don't focus on trying to communicate with kids in different ways. They want to do it their way. They only try the way they know and the way they're comfortable doing it. If they feel like that doesn't work, they just automatically give up and they'll go the simpler route and work with the kids that do things their way. I think they should probably work a little bit harder.
A whole lot of cans and can'ts. You know, people like to say you can be anything you want, but then I think for females sometimes when they are going farther than the world expects them to go, that it starts to stop for them, and maybe people get a little uncomfortable and don't expect them to really achieve quite as much as maybe they would expect for males.
Girls are looked at a certain way, like we're supposed to be held at a certain standard, and when you go below that standard, other people look at you bad.
Girls argue relationally and they heal relationally, right? Relational aggression and relational healing. And I think they do need the same people for a long period of time. I think we need to be willing to see that when it's working, we need to give it enough time to gel.
I wanted to come talk to you because maybe there was other girls out there that could use what I said, take it with them, and they could be strong and know that they have to have their own confidence. You're welcome.
Does anybody have any comments after watching? I love that. Mhm. And then, if you want to say something about your experience in Wonder Woman?
I had a very good time making that movie with your daughter. His daughter made that show, that little documentary. I don't know if you guys know that. That was all his daughter. She did a really good job. I was upset I didn't get to do the second portion of it, but it was a pretty good video and I enjoyed making it.
When you're doing a Wonder Fellas.
I hadn't thought of that one. When Madison comes home on Christmas break, she will be filming. No, maybe. That's a good idea.
Yeah. But you did say that these strategies are incorporate all populations.
Everyone, yeah. So we started it out with just the girls' population because of that Speak Up project that Center for Children's Advocacy had, and then now it's sort of branched out to all. But yes, I agree. The boys
Yeah,
need a
but you got to
movie.
have the fellas speak for the fellas.
Yes, they need a
Females
movie
speak
too.
for females.
I
That's how
agree.
kids take stuff.
It's not the same.
The territorial thing.
Mhm.
I agree.
So let's just look at this slide quickly, and then so I'm not doing all the talking, and then the justice advisors can go on talking about their own work, since it's what they do. So shortly after September, when we had that event, the girls' event in the Capitol, we really started thinking, how can we, if we're going to be partnering with youth, families, hopefully communities as a whole, it can't just be transactional and a one-off type thing. We actually have to have a group of people that we're working with constantly, right? So that's sort of where the justice advisors came in. At the same time as we were having these thoughts, Youth First, which is a national organization whose mission is to close youth prisons, started thinking the same way. You know, we're doing all of this advocacy work across the nation with closing youth prisons. And we don't have any, we're not working directly with youth to inform what we're doing, no family input. What are we gonna do about that? So they formed and started something called the Youth Leaders Network, which all of the justice advisors are a part of, and have started doing conferences. We went up to Boston in October, we'll go down to New York City in April, where the advisors have the time and the space to meet with the other youth and young people, and some of them older campaign leaders that are leading the campaigns in their states to close youth prisons, as we are with the juvenile training school, and other pieces, the whole big picture of juvenile justice, not just closing youth prisons, right? So that is something that they are a part of, and there's stipends that go along with that, as well as being a justice advisor. Just like all of us are paid to be here, so are they. There's training opportunities and things like that as a part of the Youth Leaders Network. So I think the next couple minutes will be best spent sort of talking about the work of the advisors thus far. Where have we done some listening sessions? Because part of the goal when they all sat down first was to say, what is our first piece of work going to do? What do we need to do? So we need to get into communities and hear about what they need, what they want. The advisors doing that and getting that feedback, and then use that information, that data, to bring to legislators, to bring to meetings, et cetera, to say, these are all the things that Bridgeport asked for, or Waterbury, or Newington, et cetera, right? So it's not Abby and I, or even the justice advisors themselves saying, this is what we think should be happening. It's actual real live data coming from communities. Talk about a couple current initiatives, ideas that they have, and maybe what we are all hoping for the future. So whoever, and I'll just chime in, but whoever wants to start talking about what we have done, what we are doing, and what we want to do, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so as you know, my name is Nancy Singleton, and the Justice Advisors is a group of awesome individuals who've had either first or second-hand experience with the system. I myself have had first-hand experience. I spent 10 years in prison, and now I'm home kicking butt, taking names.
That's right.
So right now I'm also in the Northborough Public Ally. I work in a high school in Stamford, Connecticut for youth with behavioral and trauma issues. I'm a paraprofessional. It's an amazing job. The majority of my students have been JJ involved, DCF. They just come from really tough backgrounds, and everyone is giving up on these kids, like everyone. So our school is a place of love and not even second chances, just many chances, because we all know that we've all fell a couple times, but these kids are so awesome. And then I got hooked up with awesome Christina to be a justice advisor, just to get our work rooted in their voice. I think a lot of times we sit around and we think that we know what's best for our juveniles or for our students without their input. And I think a lot of times we get it wrong. So that's what we're here for, to get out there, connect with the families, other agencies, to give our kids a shot, to give them an opportunity to get back into society and to kick butt like I'm doing.
What's the role of a justice advisor? So what's your role with what does that mean?
To me it means, so justice advisor, to me it means someone who's been close to these problems that we're trying to combat. So I believe that the people who are closest to these problems that we're trying to combat are also closest to the solution. So I think that that's what Christina and Connecticut Juvenile Justice Alliance does awesome, that they don't shun people like me, which a lot of organizations do. I think we have a different insight and a different perspective. So yeah, we do. We just had a listening session not too long ago in the youth prison. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go because I'm a felon. I know Ileana might be able to speak to it more, but they actually went into the prison to get the voice from the youth, to see what they've been through, what they need, how can we support them in their transition back into the community.
So to jump on, piggyback what he's saying, a justice advisor is simply like, we the voice for our community. When conversations are being had about us and pertaining to us and we're not included in these conversations, the justice advisor gives us the opportunity to be in these conversations when otherwise we wouldn't even be thought of, except for the fact that they're having a conversation about us, without us.
think you're, it's a disadvantage for someone like you who has that lived experience, but you were held back because you're a felon not to be allowed to go in and mentor or talk to, coach, inspire young folks that are at CJTS?
Yeah, certainly. I think by doing that, I think we're actually doing a disadvantage to our youth. I don't know if it's set up like that for a reason, but I think that our youth need to see someone who's been through that experience and who has come out of it successfully and can navigate the world through society without having to resort to, the things they used to resort to. There's like hope out there, and I think they need to actually see hope. They don't get to see hope.
Let me ask you, what inspired you to, when you, after you completed your 10 years and the son, to come out and do the work you're doing now?
I think it was like a realization, like being in there and being around so many guys that were so young who just weren't going to get the opportunity to come back into the world, see guys 17, 18, 19 years old that are going to be in prison for the rest of their lives. It does something. It does something. Yeah, it does something.
So I want to say something about the writings that you read from the place that she'll be nameless that you went to?
The youth, in
yeah.
the detention center? Those? I
Yeah.
didn't read all of them. I attended the visioning session, I did read all the writings.
Okay.
But I could speak off of what you were saying. I did attend the meeting that the visioning session that we held at the MYI.
Mm-hmm.
It was about a group of, I want to say 15 boys.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very good experience. We got to sit down and speak to these kids, and actually hear what they wanted, what they felt was better, what they needed. Mostly what they said back to us, though, was that they wanted us to return. They didn't expect us to be who we were when we came.
Yeah,
From what they
that's
said,
right,
they
that's right.
expected
It's like,
people
oh,
in
you
like
don't have
suits and
suits
stuff.
on.
And we came there all regular in like jeans with a sweater. It was real
Yeah, they're happy about that.
weird. We had a lot of fun. But that was the one thing that they asked us for, was to make sure that we came back, because they have people ask them stuff who just never return. It's like they didn't want us to take all that information from them and not use it or feel as if they've been used. They wanted us to stay in contact and stuff like that. So I know that we're supposed to be working on going there a second time, but bringing the rest of the crew with us.
Yes.
Because it would have been way better if we had an actual guy. It was all
Yes.
girls.
Mm-hmm.
So with boys who've been locked up for God knows how long.
How many justice advisors are there?
5.
5. What's the gender makeup?
We're only 3 girls, 2 boys.
Yeah, there were many.
Yeah.
And we're based in Bridgeport now because that's where majority of them are from. And that's just kind of how it happened, by accident, which is fantastic. But we all want to make sure that we get statewide, working on funding for that, so we can recruit advisors from Hartford, Waterbury, New Haven, Hampton, Stratford, all the small towns, all the big cities. And the idea is that the Alliance will hire a third person to be we're calling it now the Justice Advisor Liaison, but be the person who is then organizing all of those different advisors and all throughout the whole state. So hopefully we expand. Because of the way that you all have credibility in Bridgeport and Waterbury, some in Norwalk, we need somebody who has that same credibility in Hartford and can walk into a room and, you don't want to, otherwise we're defeating the purpose. We will go into, and we have, like Ileana mentioned, gone to that youth prison, and everybody's from everywhere, but we're gonna do the work, and if we have to go statewide with 5 people, that's what we'll do, but hopefully we can continue to bring more folks to help us.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that the youth you interact with are struggling with today? Like from your perspective, what are some of the things that they're still trying to deal with?
From our perspective or from what they tell us?
Either way.
Either way.
Yeah.
Me personally, the youths that I've interacted with, their big thing is stability. And that's in every aspect, whether it's a stable program they're placed in, a stable therapist they see, a stable guidance counselor they speak to. That's a lot of the biggest issues that I run into that youth tell me about. They're used to bouncing from person to person to person to person, even with foster homes. A lot of youths go from foster home to foster home. A lot of kids ask for stability, which they're not given. So that's kind of like one of the biggest things that I hear.
Yeah, there's a million programs out there, but there's none that are like consistent. They start for maybe a year or two, and then these kids get into these programs, and this is what they're learning and what they're depending on, and then all of a sudden the doors is closed, and it's now what's next. And then there's discussions being brought up about what should we do after these programs are done, but they're not being asked. We're not, the community, the people who need these programs aren't the ones who are making the suggestions or saying this is what we need. They're being suggested without us.
I think for mine too, like I work in high school, so I know one of the things that my students lack, boys and girls, are mentors. Like they just don't have any. They have nowhere to go, no one to talk to. They come from these horrible backgrounds, these horrible homes, these horrible environments, and they just have no one that they can relate to or talk to. So yeah, I'm on call 24/7 with my students. They'll call me on like a Sunday morning, like, hey, what you doing? Sleeping. You know, so definitely, like she said, like consistency, consistent mentors, consistent programs, and just stability. That's what they need. They're so used to people coming into their lives and like popping out, coming in, popping out. So they lose trust in the community and in people, period. So they just have to be consistent.
And I've got to assume that impacts the way that they think about control, right? Because if you never have control over anything, then you start to act in a way where you can control the thing, right? You try and control you're trying to control anything that you can because so little is in your control. Is that?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it sucks because the things they try to control are destructive.
Right, because it's the only outlet
It's the
that
only
they
thing
have.
Absolutely. I agree.
I have a question. I don't know if you guys would have an answer, Christina, but so you talk about mentorship and having that consistency and that stability. So any of the young men or young women that you speak with who are behind bars or not, is there a plan or an idea for us at some point to put them or create a program around them to empower them to be mentors so that it won't be just, so when we talk about capacity building, right? So it's not just 5 of you going around the state or like in the event that you can't get someone from Hartford, right? Like in the near future, is there something or an idea out there at least to create mentors in these listening sessions and these groups that you guys are going to continue working with?
I think, and I'll talk about an opportunity that you all had and maybe something that it could lead to down that vein, but the advisors sat maybe 2 months ago with the folks from Court Support Services Division who are now in charge of creating the new continuum of care and secure and non-secure care for youth in Connecticut, with the transfer of juvenile justice services to CSSD as of July 1, right? So these guys sat with them and spoke about, had a serious conversation about personal experiences with JJ system and different therapy, et cetera. Had letters from that youth prison with what boys are asking for, what did they need, and then experience as justice advisors, and were heard in a way that any of us would be heard in a meeting and respected and listened to, notes written down. So I feel like that could be an idea that you all take to them because they're still open and still being created. Like the RFP just went out for what secure and non-secure care is going to look like in Connecticut. So a program like that, and CSSD is trying to go down that track of the youth, family, community voice driving their work as well, and they're understanding that that's something that they need. I think that would be a good idea for you all to pitch to them to say, hey, what about this? And this is why. So thank you. That's great. Thank you for that idea.
No problem.
Probably somewhere along the line there are some programs that exist to take formerly incarcerated people, young people that have system experience and get trained to be mentors. I can think of a few. I can't tell you the names off the top of my head, but I can think of a few that I have heard of. I don't think there's enough.
when we were at that meeting with CCSP.
Yes.
I think her name was Tasha Hunt, I'm not too sure.
Yep.
She's like the director of, I think, juvenile probation in New Haven.
That's right.
And that was like something that we try to like pitch to her. Like I think that every juvenile coming out home on probation should be like there should be some sort of program set up with probation to have like mentors like there already. Because I don't know if you guys know what happens at probation. Are you guys familiar with the probation officer? Or what is a probation officer supposed to do? Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, I am. I have my own personal JJ experience.
Yeah.
Although I'm 60 years old, I still can remember
So
what it was like.
Yeah, so like when I go to probation officers, I guess it's supposed to be like that gap between like you, prison, and like helping you be successful. So when I go see my probation officer, I walk in, she's like, hey, Nancy, what's up? I'm like, hi, how you doing? She's like, have you had any contact with the police? I'm like, no. Do you have any weapons or drugs on you right now? No. All right, I'll see you next month.
That's not beneficial.
No, anybody could do
Every
that.
single time. It's like a 3-minute meeting.
Or it's like
probably
they-
not even.
Was it always that way though, or
It's
like when you
always-
first started, or did it as you build trust with the probation officer turn into that?
It's always been
It's
that
from
way.
day one.
Yeah.
You're just like another, you're like a number. You just count, your file is going on the desk of 100 other files just sitting there over
Always
for
been
one
that.
person that has too much to handle all these issues. It's like they're waiting for you to, probation is basically just waiting for you to fuck up again to go back into jail. Like they're just waiting for you, like, honestly.
Right.
Is that juvenile probation you're talking about?
It's both.
Both?
It's it's like
That's
continuum. That's the only
whole
steady
system.
thing we have in this structure. Continuing jail, like the cycle. That's the only thing that's stable.
So probation being, probation and parole being a condition of confinement.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think that, we have to define these things the way they are, not the way that they're interpreted to us,
Yeah, absolutely.
translated to us. Well, you guys know I love you. I'm not gonna,
That's right.
I'm not gonna, say it any other way. I like what you all are doing. I want to be able to support you all in everything you're doing. I think it's going to, in the future, I see you all, having a legislative component, being that
Yes.
voice. What concerns me, though, is, Nancy, and I heard you say it, that you work as a paraprofessional. I think that is a way to marginalize your experience, that in this work, it's not supported enough. You all know me because I work for an advocacy organization, but we can't even use the word advocacy anymore because it is scrutinized. And you have some people that think advocates shouldn't get paid, that it should be free work. So when you use the word mentor is another title, a word that has been scrutinized in our system here in Connecticut, and they think mentoring should happen for free. I'm here to tell you that the work you do is expert work and professional work, and you should get titled as a professional and paid as an expert. That might not be in the governor's plan for a budget, but I think that's what you have to advocate for, or that's what you have to, what we have to fight for. As long as they call us peer workers, it continues to perpetuate the marginalization of your experience and the experience of the people that you're trying to support. And these folks should be the movers and the shakers of those systems that we're trying to change. Because other than that, if you look at it like a pyramid, the pyramid is turned over and we're trying to balance this system off of the opinions and ideas of the leaders, rather than right-siding it and balancing it off the base of the people that are manipulated, victimized, or benefit from the system. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
So, just think that. I'm an old man. I want you all to think those things and think about action to get involved in and to do from that experience that I have. I think you all are the changers and the movers, the dictators of what's going to happen to people your age and younger. I am tired of seeing old folks like myself be decision makers in your life. Doesn't make any sense. I advocate for 16-year-olds to have the right to vote. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Because you all can die in high schools where someone comes in who doesn't get the right treatment and shoots up the high school. And that leads me to a question, because I always want to have, I have a question when I get off this soapbox. Thank you. What kind of services do they have in locked facilities? What type of services or help did you get before you got out, if any? What was beneficial, if at all?
I think if you are committed to your change, you can always find people who are willing to support you.
You're talking about inside?
Inside. Yeah. You can always, it might just be one person, you know, but then like your life is that much better because you just have that one person. You might only see this person once a month, but like, you know that person is actually there to like help you. They have a school, GED classes, but it's subpar. The teachers are subpar. The curriculum, I'm pretty sure, is not up to state standards. They might have a computer class or like teach you how to like do aiding and drafting, or they'll teach you something that you probably can't use when you get out of prison. So my thing was just, I read a lot. So reading for me. Just learning how to build relationships. Yeah, there's really not much in there.
So, okay, so I have a two-part question. So piggyback off that, Beresford, when you guys went into, I'm gonna keep going back to you because I know you guys went in. So did the young men that you all spoke with suggest any programs or say what kind of, like any programs and programming that they needed or wanted? That's part one. And then part two, I know that the young women who spoke this morning talked about how it's an opportune time for higher education to connect with and partner with this mass incarceration and all these things that need to change, that we need to dismantle. And how do you see higher education partnering with prison and like in those programs or with the juvenile center, juvenile detention?
I'll go off the first question you said. When we visited, one thing that they said specifically was like they only offered basketball. A lot of kids didn't like basketball. We met a lot of kids who like music, some that like to read. We went around and asked everybody, what's one thing you like to do? Fun fact and stuff. A little amount of them said basketball. So they were like, certain things that they're offered are not what they want to do. They would like to see more of a variety of sports and programs in the detention facility. What else did they say? I know one of them said, and I don't know if this kind of goes off the topic of what you just asked me, but he was saying that, I don't know if I'm saying it right, that he would have preferred, what do you say about the guidance counselors? The kid that was talking about the guidance counselors. That he couldn't go see the guidance counselor.
Yeah, he asked about mental health access.
Oh, to speak to a guidance counselor, you have to say that you need mental health help. That's
right,
what it is.
and how that is viewed.
He wanted them to
change
change that, because it's like some of them said it came off a little embarrassing to have to ask for mental health help just to speak with a guidance counselor about something that could be very minimal. It could be about a phone conversation they have with their parents. You know, so they asked for things like that. I know in there they had like a library we walked by. A lot of kids were in there, but it looked like a little kids library. I mean, I don't know what other programs they offered, but definitely they were going hard on the sports, on the fact that they could only play basketball, and that a lot of them didn't want to do that. So.
And what did somebody mention what they needed in the community, right? Like a mentor that.
Yeah, and then they were also mentioning how there's programs, but they don't know how to get in contact with the program, or
certain programs have to have a certain amount of charges or a certain charge to there's programs where you have to be on probation to get into them. I went to a program where you had to be on probation to get into. So they were saying like certain programs they shouldn't restrict the access to them because they would like to be able to access any program that they wanted to join or participate in.
And I just think it makes sense for higher education to be connected with the youth prison, because if this prison is supposed to be set up to help these children get from doing whatever it is they claim that they were doing wrong, why wouldn't you teach them things or put them in a position to be able to come out and not be left blank and staring like what is next? You know, you taking them away from society and putting them in here for months, years, however long it is, but then you're not giving them anything while they're there. They're just in a hole all day, every day. So when they come out, you expect them to be geniuses, to be able to do this and get on their feet and have these jobs. Like, that doesn't even make sense when you're not giving them the opportunity or the backing to do it. If they're in there, why not teach them things? Why not give them opportunities? If they're not book smarts, give them trades to do. Don't just give them basketball. What the hell is that? They could have stayed outside and did more criminal things and probably learned better things outside than they did in that system doing nothing.
Not only that too, but I like my opinion on why you would put somebody in jail is to make them a better person, I guess. That's what you would say. That's like their point of it. So why wouldn't you want to have their education up to date, their health up to date? Every person's different, something that they can all do that they're interested in. You want that person to come out and be amazing. You don't want that person to come out and be like, yo, I was miserable, I didn't learn nothing. Now I don't even know what's good with the math curriculum now, you know?
And then
like you want to educate those people.
Facts. They get so used to being taken care of. Basically, they got a roof over their head. They're being fed. They don't have to work, so they don't know anything. They come out. They're like, why? They're lost in this society that everyone else is ahead of them in advance, and now they're doing stuff. They're like, I can't take this. I'm going to do something worse to put me back in this predicament where I know I got a roof over my head and I don't have to watch my back. Like, that's crazy. Like, why are we coming out thinking that it's okay to go back in? We should be coming out and never want to come back. We shouldn't even be going in the first place if we had the resources and the opportunities from jump. But because we only have the resources and the opportunities after we do something, then there should be a whole setup for it. This has been going on for years. It should have been already set into place. Why is this like something new and like amazing when it's been going on for years? It doesn't make any sense.
All of the passion in your voice.
All of it.
So if I can play devil's advocate and make a statement, I do serve on the Juvenile Justice Alliance Steering Committee, and I've been on it for years. And they've heard me say, Christina has heard me say this all the time, a juvenile justice system should benefit juveniles. But considering a justice system, and you all would admit that you all were convicted or charged with a crime, do you feel that you should serve a punitive sentence for that crime? And the statement I want you to respond to or think about, should a justice system benefit the just? Or what kind of benefit should the unjust, ear quote, get out of a justice system? If you commit a crime, should you do the time?
Depends what the crime is. How bad you did it.
And the answer I'm looking, because you did 10 years, I'm looking for your answer and your response.
Yeah, so I come from, I come from a place where like that was the same. Like if you do the crime, you should be able to do the time. I did my time. I did what I did. I certainly regret what I did. I did what I did, and I knew I probably deserved to like be punished for what I did. I'm not mad at that.
Did you benefit from 10 years?
I certainly benefited from my 10 years, but it was only because I had the will to benefit from my 10 years. You know what I mean? You have some people who go in there and they don't have that, and they also don't have anyone in there like encouraging them to become better or to be better people or to like come out and be productive in society. Like I chose that for myself. Like I didn't have, like no one else did that for me. And while I was in there, no one else helped me do that. Like I did that on my own. And I think kind of that's where the system is lacking, that rehabilitation portion. Because if you're not doing it yourself, there's no one in there to do it for you. It's a warehouse inside of there. You go in there and literally you can sleep all day, every day, and not do anything, and no one will say anything to you.
Get up for meals though, right?
Yeah, you can get up for your meal and come back and go to sleep. You don't have to shower, you don't have to do anything, and they don't care. So you have to have that drive inside of you to want to come home and do something better. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. I appreciate that. How about you all? Do you think a justice system should only benefit the just, or what do you think as a perpetrator? Please don't take this the wrong way, but what benefit do you think it should provide you all or anyone else?
Rehabilitation, what they said that it's supposed to do. That should definitely, if you're gonna, that's like false advertising. I'm not gonna go to Wendy's and expect to get a McDouble. If you are selling me a Wendy's burger, I want a Wendy's burger. I'm not gonna come in here and think that it's something. You're not gonna put me in jail and tell me that I'm gonna come out rehabilitated when you never gave me anything to rehabilitate myself. You only gave me tools to worsen myself, and put me in a worse predicament than probably I was before I even went in here.
I appreciate how basic that comparison was, because it's not like it's a common sense kind of thing. You go on you're right. You go to Wendy's, you're not expecting anything off the McDonald's. What's that menu? So if somebody's saying, oh no, they're gonna come out so much better, oh maybe you need to sit down, maybe if you're gonna say these things, what else are you offering me?
Exactly.
Like what else? And not to say oh somebody's gonna walk you through with it by the hand, but this is at least if there's somebody offered you some services to say you have to pick something. You still have to have that drive to do it, but you have to have something to pick from
the opportunity
in order to do that.
Exactly. If I'm not given the opportunities, you just want me to make them myself while I'm behind prison, while I'm in bar. That doesn't make sense. You took away everything from me, and then you expect me to learn. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I agree with that.
Facts.
And you did create an opportunity for yourself.
Definitely.
Because your passion to change the conditions in the situation is your opportunity to become expert in your field and take your story and move the needle.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. It's not about a handout. I don't want a handout from anybody. But just give me that opportunity to do it if I want to do it. You know what I'm saying? When you come home, it's so tough. No one wants to hire you. It sucks. I put in an application to get hired to be a janitor at a gym to scrub a toilet, and they told me no. I wasn't qualified to scrub a toilet. What is that about? You know what I mean? So, yeah, just to have those opportunities there to be able to do that. So, I served my time like I was supposed to. So, why is my debt not cleared after I've served my time? What else do you want? 10 years, what else you want?
As a follow-up to that, you said when they went to the prison to visit the kids, you were not allowed.
No, they wouldn't allow me to go in because
I mean, you would think it'd be a good idea for kids to have a connection with somebody
Yes.
that has that experience.
It was discouraging on both parts.
Is there is there a time limit, or is that a full, you can't go there ever? Or could you put in an application to get special permission because you're a teacher and a role model for these kids?
I think there's both. I think so what I'm gonna do, I'm definitely gonna fill out to get a full pardon to have that stripped from my record. But until I do that, I can't go in.
Because it would be a good thing, I think, for these kids to see something. Here's someone who was in here for 10 years, now he's a teacher.
I agree.
Someone who understands them, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're surprised you weren't wearing suit and tie and you're just showing up.
Yeah,
really connect.
My experience has been in Connecticut in particular, the correction system, right? They create these rules, right? But everything is, most people fall somewhere in between things, but everything is black and white and there's no gray. And so, and common sense almost never prevails, right? So it's either, no, I'm sorry, you didn't meet this, sorry, you violated this rule. Well, no, but if you look at the full circumstance, right, is it really appropriate for this to apply to me, or aren't there special extenuating circumstances, or aren't there? No, it's like they're just paper pushers, right, in a sense, in terms of how they view it. And oftentimes common sense just gets thrown out the window. I always tell this story about probation because it just, to me, it's like the funniest, most ironic thing. My brother was on probation, and he transferred his probation from Connecticut down to Virginia, and his wife, they weren't married at the time, but they were engaged. She had purchased a home across the street from a middle school, and so based on his crimes, didn't have anything to do with children, but they were sex related. They had said, you can't, until you're off probation, you can't live there. Okay. And so he said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., you can't be in the house. Those are, right, what they consider as sleeping hours. So he goes, hang on a minute. You mean to tell me I could literally go get like a lawn chair, sit in my front yard as the kids are being walked off the bus to school, right? Because this is theoretically what the concern is, right? So, and that is perfectly legal. But I can't be there from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. when nobody is in the school. But it didn't matter because it was about, listen, you can't technically live across the street from a school while you're on probation. And technically they considered living based on where you were sleeping, and that's how they defined sleeping. And so it defied common sense, right? I mean, if somebody, and to me that's just always in my experience with the criminal justice system. It's like, if it makes sense, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's just not set up for that.
Yes. Makes sense. So we've got like 4 minutes. Do any of y'all have something that you want everybody in the room to know about you, or a closing remark?
I just want to say the reason why I became a justice advisor is simply because of my experiences and being able to have an opportunity to actually have a voice when I never thought I even had one. And I know that I've been a leader in a lot of different, probably not good situations in my community, but I know that I have people who listen to me and who respect the things that I say. And honestly, I just get a chance to be able to show them something positive and be an influence in a good way rather than in a negative way, which I'm already perceived as from being a felon. And I just want to show them that there's opportunities and we got to take them when we can.
Mm-hmm. I don't have anything to say besides thank you for having us. And if you guys bump into anybody who doesn't know about us, feel free to spread the word about justice advisors. A lot of people don't know about the justice advisors, so the more we get the word out, it's like the better.
But the soon they will.
Yeah.
That's right.
At least many more people know about you now.
That's right. Tell a friend.
Absolutely, tell a friend.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming out. You guys are an awesome crowd.
Thanks for coming out.
Just support us in any way you can, and if there's any way we can support you guys, please let us know. We will be there, no matter where you guys are at. We're pulling up